but want to go to a guy who covers this Patriots team every single day. Tyler Sullivan, my colleague. Check him out at 24/7 Sports. Tyler, maybe I'm a contrarian. Thanks for being here. I sort of enjoyed the Bill Belichick dominating Sean McVay masterpiece last night.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who doesn't like the punter contest? I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? That's what you get to Super Bowl 53 for. No, I did think it was an entertaining game. I mean, it wasn't the 25-point comebacks or the Philly specials that we've seen over the course of these Patriots Super Bowls over the last 3 years, but it was close. It was contentious. You had to kind of have those questions of, all right, Tom Brady doesn't look particularly good here. They're only up by 3 points. They are up. But when do the Rams start to become the Rams? When does Brandon Cooks rip off a 65-yard touchdown? When does Todd Gurley stop having this mystery around him? There was those questions around it. So I did think that there was plenty of storylines in an entertaining fashion in this Super Bowl, just not what we're normally used to with the Patriots.
All right, Tyler, you're around this team all the time. Maybe decode Bill Belichick for us. Get us inside and what's underneath the hoodie a little bit. How much do you think, speculation or otherwise, how much do you think he was motivated beyond the obvious Super Bowl of just proving everyone wrong that he's still in the game and that it's not Sean McVay's league, at least not yet?
No, I think it's huge. And I mean, you go to those post-game interviews there, him at the podium with Jim Nantz. He's the one saying that nobody believed in us. And that kind of made my ears perk up a little bit because you don't really hear Bill Belichick say anything, Tom Brady, any of those guys say anything out of the New England Patriots. And all of a sudden you have Bill Belichick, the grunty Bill Belichick, the hoodie at the podium, then say, listen, nobody believed in us all year. Well, now you're starting to hear it from the head guy there. You started obviously hear the underdog battle cries there from the team and from the players, starting with Tom Brady after the AFC divisional round. But now you're hearing it from the head coach. And I do think there's something to be said there for the just universal maybe wanting the Patriots to go away. Maybe the Patriots are not that good anymore because they did struggle on the road this season. And you know Bill Belichick as well as I do, seeing him over the past, nearly 2 decades in New England now, they use any sort of thing that they can to drive the motivation in that locker room. I call it the Patriots propaganda, whatever they have pumping in the megaphones there at Gillette Stadium. And to me, this is just the latest, addition to that because the Patriots have been around for so long. They are coming off of that loss in Super Bowl 52, their struggles on the road. Now, all of a sudden, people started to doubt them, and I do think there's something to be said there for that competitive fire for Bill Belichick to say, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. This is still our turf. This is still who we are, no matter when there is the Patrick Mahomeses in Kansas City's with Andy Reid or the Sean McVay and Jared Goffs out there in LA. The Patriots, as they like to do with their mottos, they are, quote unquote, still there, still here.
All right, speaking of Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City, the odds are out for next year's Super Bowl because it's never too early to start thinking about how to lose money on the Patriots again. Chiefs are the most likely team to win the Super Bowl, according to Vegas, at 6-1. Right after those guys, the familiar name Patriots at 7-1. What's a realistic timeline here? How long are Bill Belichick and Tom Brady going to continue to be Super Bowl contenders down the road?
Well, I mean, this is a really interesting offseason. I really do think that it's something to keep an eye on here because, and we've seen obviously the Patriots rebuild over the course of their tenure here. Obviously, their first Super Bowl against the Rams, there's only 2 guys, and even going back to that Seattle Super Bowl a few years ago, it's a completely different team there. This offseason's really interesting. Of course, Tom Brady said he wants to play till he's 45, and I've just been inclined to believe him. He's going to be around for the next few years. He obviously has 1 more year left on his contract. They'll definitely need to renegotiate that to some degree there to maybe get his cap number down while giving him some more dollars. But I do think it's interesting to see what you look at. There's the question of Rob Gronkowski now. He's obviously not saying anything last night about his future, but it seems like there's so much smoke about retirement that it looks like he'll probably walk away. And now you have the questions of the McCourty twins, specifically Devin McCourty. He looks like he may even retire. I mean, you have a lot of questions around this team in terms of the pillars of these last few Super Bowl championships. So they're going to have to retool on offense to have those big play, home run hitters if you're going to lose a guy like Gronk. And on defense, too, you have to rebuild that secondary a little bit. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Patriots. But again, as long as you have Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, it's hard to count them out of this. So to me, as long as those 2 guys are still there, and I see them at least being there for the next 2 years, the Patriots will always be that threat.
All right, so Tyler, I'm not trying to write off Tom Brady. I made that mistake a few years ago. But at some point, presumably, as a mortal man, age is going to catch up to the guy. Last night, did we see the season catch up to Brady, or was it just Wade Phillips' game plan making things really tough for a guy who's going to be just fine next season?
Yeah, it could be a little bit of both there. I mean, yeah, every time, just because you say that, all right, he's not looking particularly great, doesn't mean that you're, pushing him off the cliff, as they've so famously coined. You can just be, descriptive about it and say, listen, a couple of those throws last night weren't that great. He had a couple of bad throws in that game. Tom Brady did not really have a great Super Bowl, but I don't think you necessarily need Tom Brady to be the 2007. I know they didn't win that year, but just this prolific quarterback to win these Super Bowls. If they rebuild this thing the right way, Tom Brady's mind isn't going to age. Tom Brady's physical attributes may start to dwindle a little bit, but if they build a roster around him, and I've used in the past the Peyton Manning Broncos of a few years ago of Super Bowl 50, Peyton Manning was a shell of himself in that championship run. But if all of a sudden you build a great defense around him and you build an offense that can really cater to him, and as long as he doesn't make the key critical mistakes, then they should be okay. And I think that's what the Patriots should do in these waning years of Tom Brady. If they can build through the draft or build through free agency to have a couple of those guys that Tom Brady can lean on, maybe, the next version of Rob Gronkowski, the next version of Devin McCourty, in the secondary there, an anchor in that defense, well, then you don't really need Tom Brady to be Tom Brady as much as we've seen. Again, last night in that Super Bowl, like you said, he wasn't particularly that great. I didn't see, a couple of throws there that I was scratching my head at. But on that final or that lone touchdown drive of this game, Brady was a little bit like Tom Brady. Completed all 4 of his passes for 67 yards. That beauty of a pass to Rob Gronkowski for 29 yards to set up that touchdown. If he only needs to be Tom Brady in those little moments, I think that he'll be able to do that over these next couple of years here until he reaches 45. It's just the question of, can Bill Belichick, the GM, build a team around Tom Brady where he doesn't have to be this GOAT-like figure all the time?
All right, Tyler, if we were to take us to breath, right, and those that hate the Patriots, just let it go, and those of us that maybe are given to hyperbole, sort of just take a moment, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where do Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the combo of those two guys, where do they rate in the pantheon of not just the NFL, but American sports in general?
I mean, I think you'd have to put them right at the top there. And I say this, broadcasting from New England, obviously, but at the same time, I mean, the NFL, as much as the MLB is America's pastime, the NFL is king in America, in North American sports. It really drives the passion behind every other sports team and sports league. And you're talking about two guys, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, that have not only been able to win at a historic clip, but continue to win over the 17 years. Like, if you would, I know obviously it'd be impressive if you rattle off similar to like Michael Jordan and the Bulls, where he went 3-3. He had that year where he wasn't around. But basically under Michael Jordan, they rattled off 6 championships in the NBA. It would be impressive if the Patriots did that as well. But the fact that they've been so competitive over 17 years, and there was a stretch there obviously from 2004 to 2014 where they weren't winning Super Bowls, but they were still among the best of the best, appearing in Super Bowls, coming close but not really climbing the mountaintop, but still a very good team. The fact that they were able to do that in the age of free agency, in the age of where if you're so good, you have a tougher schedule, you have a lower draft selection, and we all know this, Bill Belichick always trades out of the first round anyways. The fact that they're able to do all of that and still be a competitive football team and now rattle off 3 championships in 5 years to really kind of bookend these 2 dynasties together, there's really no other argument there. I mean, you're putting them up against Bill Russell and Red Auerbach with the Celtics back in the day. Obviously, Michael Jordan's the Bulls, the Montreal Canadiens. I mean, you're up there with those elite runs of these franchises. And I'd put them right at the top. I mean, the NFL, it just doesn't, it's not, they're breaking the league. There really isn't a way that's designed for them to do this, and they're doing it anyways. So to me, it's just, really just a loss for words in terms of what they've been able to do here over the past near 20 years.
When I was reporting full-time across a lot of sports, I'd be around some teams that had this great perception publicly, couldn't stand those guys. I'd be around teams and coaches who people loathe. Nick Saban comes to mind. And behind the scenes, I actually sort of enjoyed the experience of being around that organization. The Patriots, as you just laid out, are one of the greats of all time. You're around them a lot. Pull back the curtain for us. How do guys that cover this team day in, day out feel about that organization and being around that organization?
It's fun, but it's also maddening at times. I mean, you do have those moments where, they are that steel trap. They are that we're not going to really say anything because we know that's the betterment for the team. And you understand that. You accept that. You say, okay, listen, Bill Belichick's not going to say anything. He's just going to say we're on to Kansas City or we're on to Cincinnati when they do have those tough losses. Particularly, it comes to mind when they lose to, Detroit and Jacksonville earlier in the year. It seems like things are kind of sputtering out of control. They really do kind of bunker down in-house there. But then all of a sudden you start to have these crazy runs here, and you just get to see first and foremost that magic up close of how this team can flip the switch and kind of really get on a run. It's something that you never really are able to see in most sports and in most anything, really. All of a sudden, you're looking at this team in week 16 and week 17, and they're beating up the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, and you say, all right, well, yeah, of course they're going to beat these teams up. It's the end of the year. These two teams have wrapped it up. It's really not indicative of to what this team actually is. And then all of a sudden they get into the postseason and you say, oh, wow, that really was a turning point for them. And they knew that, but we didn't. There was a subtle confidence of this team saying, yeah, we figured it out. This was who we are.
Tyler Sullivan, really appreciate the perspective from New England. Thanks, buddy. Let's do it again. We'll do it again next year when they win another one.
Yeah, no problem. See you in Miami.